I'm Amy Clark. I am a wife, a mother of 4 grown kids, and we have 10 grandkids and an 11th one on the way. We own a real estate brokerage in Westerville, and I've been in real estate over 20 years. Everybody, anybody that knows me does know that I love Star Trek. I think there are things that are formative to me today that actually came out of Star Trek. Everyone knew I was not a Christian. In fact, they knew I was an atheist. So I made it very clear from really 12, 13 years old on that anybody that believed in God was stupid. By the time I was in middle school and high school, at one point the really kind students decided they would make a list of everybody that was going to hell. And I was on the top of that list, and they would put it on our lockers. As a young person, I was working in a hair salon, and there were some gals there who were attending a really large church at the time in Central Ohio. It was a campus ministry, and they would come and they would talk about church, and I would take every opportunity to absolutely harass them. I would ask them every question that they couldn't answer. There was a couple of them that I could make cry. And then there was one day, a young man at the time came in, he was getting his hair done, and I was sitting in the dryer chair, and she said, "You need to ask him all your questions." Well, it turns out he was the founder of this church. So I sat there and I asked him question after question after question. But the one thing that struck me at the time was that even if I didn't believe what he was saying, he did. Like, I was absolutely struck by the fact that he 100% believed what he was saying. What became a fun thing for me to harass people, God clearly was doing a work, because now I really wanted to know. But there was this day, and I was like, I need to go buy a Bible. So I snuck away, bought a Bible, came home, hid, because I didn't want anybody to think I was a nut, and opened that Bible, and I started reading in the Gospels, and it was literally felt like these words leaped off the page. Like it was a moment, and it's a decision that says, this is supernatural, this is real. So I made up absolutely like I was not a believer. I'm a believer. A friend of mine invited me to Oasis City Church, and bearing in mind that I am not a charismatic church gal whatsoever. So I came one night to a worship night, and it was, music that I was a little uncomfortable with. It was prayer that I was a little uncomfortable with. There might have been some, speaking in tongues that I was a little uncomfortable with, but I was pursuing being uncomfortable. And walked up to a young man and his son, his teenage son, and they were standing there. And I said, well, you go first, because I'm not going first. And he says, this just seems really weird, and it's not going to make sense to you. And I said, well, give me a shot. He said, well, I see Captain Kirk. Do you know who that is? And I said, yes, I know who that is. And he said, he's standing on the bridge of the Enterprise. That's their ship. And I was like, clearly, I know. And he said, well, I just see him, and he's telling you to go boldly. And I was like, well, I asked God to give me some proof. I asked God to give me some sign that says these people aren't crazy, right? So he says that. It's middle of February. I pulled up my pant leg and showed my tattoo that says, boldly go. Like, this cannot be made up. God speaks uniquely. Like, what is the one thing, like completely out of the blue, that he could possibly say, Amy, you want my stamp of approval on this? You want to know that I've got you where you are supposed to be? Let me show you this. Like, who can make that up? Nobody can make up a Star Trek reference to a Star Trek person who they don't know. I mean, of all the random things in the universe. So again, just another proof for, like, God, A, exists, B, he knows me, and he's funny. So I spent 35 years with a rendition of my story as to why I was an atheist, but all of it came to light through a workshop I attended in 2018. And I'm in this workshop, in the middle of this workshop, and I'm envisioning this house that is suddenly familiar, and I recognize it as the one that my parents had rented for my sister. I'm walking through it in my mind, and I'm seeing the kitchen and the family room, and I look to my right and I see this room, and it's the baby's room, and this is the very room where this child was very severely injured. I just asked God in my moment, in this workshop, in this place in my mind, I said, where were you? Where were you when this baby was so severely injured? Where were you? And as clearly as I'm talking to you right now, and I am not this kind of person, I saw a hand, and the hand went right here. And it was Jesus' hand, and I knew it was his hand. And I heard as clearly as if you were talking to me, he said, I was there. And it was my hand between that baby's head and the wall. And in a moment, it took 35 years for God to show me, but that was the moment at 12 years old when I decided God did not exist. Because if he did exist, I don't want to know him because he's not good. Turns out my nephew found him and we got to meet him. He looks just like my uncle. He looks like my brother. He looks like my mother. And he grew up in Columbus, raised by a Christian family, is a believer, graduated from OSU with an engineering degree, a child that we didn't know would have lived, much less would he have brain damage. So it's absolutely a full circle, amazing story. So I constantly have conversations with non-believers, with skeptics, with atheists, and I think it's because I'm prepared, and so God sends the people to who are most prepared. So I love teaching apologetics and discussing all of this hard stuff and still pursue all of it. And so my journey into the uncomfortable, to the out of my comfort zone, included going to a place like Oasis City Church to say, what else is there? Like, Lord, how else are you to be experienced outside of just studying? So I think that's what's unique about Oasis City Church, is that we have the depth of the word, incredible teaching, and a commitment to the veracity of Scripture with all of the experiential stuff that we don't want to miss either. So, you don't want to go on that pendulum of it's all intellectual, oh, it's all subjective. Well, how about it's both? It's all of that. And Oasis City Church really encompasses all of that.